We're starting our webcast. Thank you again. The practice of public law has seen unprecedented challenges in the last few years. Public lawyers are often on the front lines, confronting these challenges head on. Each of us has had to change many things about the way we navigate and pursue our work. All of us struggling with providing quality representation to our clients and serving the people of New Mexico. I am certain that the short biographies of our awardees in today's program in many ways fail to capture the entirety of their accomplishments and service to the state. But despite that, it is very apparent that Mr. John Boehler and Ms. Sally Malavey are exceptional and deserving examples of what the Public Lawyer of the Year Award is meant to recognize: excellence, significant length of public service, advocacy on issues of importance to the public sector, and mentorship to other attorneys. These awards are a way to honor the amazing work of all public lawyers through the recognition of two stellar examples of public lawyering in our community. I would like to thank those of you who are in attendance today, particularly Justice David Thompson of the Supreme Court and Constance Tatum, Bar Commissioner for the 1st District. I would also like to thank our presenters and members of the Public Law Board, Clifford Reese, Joseph Dworak, and Nathan Eckberg for their efforts in putting today's event together. Thank you all. I'm Geraldine Garduno. I'm chair of the Public Law Board. Again, thank you for coming. Without further delay, I would like to introduce Constance Tatum, Bar Commissioner for our 1st District, to give her remarks.
Thank you, Geraldine. I'm honored to be here to celebrate one of the finer aspects of the legal profession, the spirit of public service. On behalf of the State Bar and the Board of Bar Commissioners, I would like to commend the Public Law Section for all they do to further the profession and our community. The contributions, the level of commitment, the time and energy spent in the name of public service for the betterment of society as a whole and the public good are very impressive. This award truly lived up to that high ideal we began with. I'd like to commend the board members of the Public Law Section who for the past 26 years have given their time to carefully review and select the recipients of this prestigious award. I'm told this involves reviewing volumes of voluminous materials. Along with recognizing our esteemed recipients today, I would like to thank the Public Law Section of the State Bar for their continuing efforts to serve both the public and their peers. This marks the 26th anniversary of the Public Law Section, which organizes 2 biannual CLE programs that benefit not only section members, but also educate others in the public sector. Additionally, the Public Law Section funds the annual President Office. The Office Fellowship is an important and important program where the section advocates for groups for good and possible. You embody the spirit of the highlight the scholarship project. Person for the law. Teachers and reviews John Anderson and Sally Malavey. After State Bar, I personally congratulate and honor you for your job. Thank you all for being here and for allowing me to share.
And for our keynote address today, please welcome Honorable David Thompson, Mexico.
Thank you, Chair. Congratulations, Sally and Ron. Congratulations. Welcome, everybody, and thank you for giving me an opportunity to speak to you. Both to congratulate, both for recognizing today, to speak a little bit about being a public lawyer, public interest law. I want to first thank you for the invitation and the opportunity to honor these individuals and the work and the dedication that all of you do as public lawyers. I'm going to begin my presentation with the question: what made you want to become a public lawyer? What compelled these honorees to strive for and achieve the level of excellence they achieve today? I've been asked this question many times. The answer, it seems, is often equally as ambiguous as it is unsatisfying. In my remarks today, my goal is to define through my own experience, but more importantly, through my knowledge and the recognition of these individuals sitting to my right. The verdict is this: work in the public interest is work for the common good. And the evidence supporting this verdict are the principles, work, and career of John Boehler, Sally Malavey, and Ms. Gonzalez. This conclusion I offer today in the ceremony itself is more compelling given what is occurring in our country today. Let me explain. It is here at this roundhouse, our state capitol, in January of this year, that they constructed a fence around. I confronted that fence as I drove into work. Let me tell you a couple things about the fence. First of all, it's not really a fence. I climbed over bigger fences getting this overthrown out. The other thing they did, and this is how much they appreciate the third branch of government, is it stopped at the Supreme Court. So I kind of thought, well, could have spent a little more money and fenced us around. But in all seriousness, it conveyed, it was symbolic of what was going on in the country and what concerned me about the fundamental appreciation for the rule of law. And it imparted in me, in my communication to you today, about the importance of the rule of law and the importance of people working towards public good and enforcing these principles in our democratic society. To me, the barrier served as a symbol of what is at risk. We are honoring these individuals today for their service to the rule of law, service not derived out of personal animosity or personal gain, but service derived by interest in the common good. Thomas Paine stated, "In America, the law is king. For as in absolute government, the king is law. So in free countries, the law ought to be king. There ought to be no other." So it is here in this venue I present my case. Forward to my case, I begin appropriately with the career of Mr. John Boehler. John has committed his career to writing the laws that govern us and govern us in fundamental ways. You may not know this, looking at me, but John and I are contemporaries. I know John very well, mostly around his drafting of what is called the election code. Now, the election code, as drab a name that is a series of statutes that govern how we govern ourselves and how we choose who is to govern us, subject to certain constitutional boundaries. Because of this work, my view of John has not always been positive. I litigated a number of election-related matters and always wondered, who in the heck wrote this? And now I know. It's John Boehler. But what I realized from John and what John taught me, and Stuart Bluestone taught me, and Denise Lamb taught me, is the election code is complicated. It's a complicated interlineation of different statutes but they are all important and tied into one document. We must be careful not to pull on one thread so as not to unravel the entire thing. John worked hard to ensure, both with regard to election code and other statutes, that the foundation upon which the rule of law is derived in statute is sound. And I congratulate you for your work, John. For public interest lawyers like you and like I was at the New Mexico Attorney General's office, words are important. Equally important are the words are used to pursue justice and the common interest. Learned Hand stated, words are not pebbles in alien juxtaposition. They have only a communal existence. And not only does the meaning of each interpenetrate the other, but all in their aggregate take their purport from the setting in which they are used, of which the relation between the speaker and the hearer is perhaps the most important. With that in mind, and in support of my case, I turn to the career of Sally Malavey, with whom I had the honor to work with, along with my assistant Stuart at the New Mexico Attorney General's office. Sally was in the civil division. I was in the litigation division. That means Sally was the agency's general counsel. I was the trial lawyer. When a complaint was filed against a client, or when she sought court enforcement of action on behalf of her client, I always asked, who from civil division was assigned to this agency? The first question I asked. If the answer was Sally, I knew first that whatever deliberation or analysis was required, it was first rate. I also knew the motivation behind any decision Sally made was nothing less than what the law required. And it was what was required to fulfill our duty to the public. I shared with Sally and my colleagues this goal, this aspiration. I started with Stuart at the New Mexico Attorney General's office. One of the first cases we had was litigating a road up in northern New Mexico. It was a public road, an old public road that had allegedly been abandoned. That road provided access to a large area of state trust land. Now state landowner closed that road for its private gain. I had a client on paper that was a state landowner. But that was not my client. And this is a lesson I learned from my supervisor. My client was the public that had the right to use that road. My client was the public that had an understanding that the rule of law would protect stealing a piece of public property for private gain. I was not incentivized working late into the night, working on briefs, trying the case in Raton, taking it on appeal, taking it to the New Mexico Supreme Court by the excitement of abandonment law or the mundaneness of highway code and maintenance. I was incentivized by an understanding that my work was not for an individual, but for the people of that community. And that's what I share with my colleagues today. In preparation for my remarks, as I begin to close, I cannot raise this case as I would not rest the case on past evidence alone. There must be a future. And for that future, I turn to Ms. Gonzalez. Ms. Gonzalez, I do not know you well. I do know the namesake for whom this fellowship is given. And I do know he was undoubtedly a gentleman who had a lifetime dedication to public service. In fact, my first law clerk at the New Mexico Supreme Court was his daughter, Elizabeth. Ms. Gonzalez, like me, like Ms. Malavey, Mr. Boehler, like many people in this room, during your work on the prison and jail project, you may not serve particular individuals. You may not know the actual clients you're serving, but you will know, more importantly, you are serving the common good. And for that, I thank you. Both Sally and John, and I will add you to this, represent the best qualities of our public lawyers in New Mexico. I reached out to Alama, a former colleague of ours, and I think he summarized it well. They are committed to the public interest and the work of their clients, passionate about what they do, but never at the expense of self-awareness and reason. I'm so happy that their significant contributions are being recognized. That is my case. Let me close with this. For those individuals who required that the fence be built around this Capitol building in January, I do not know of your motive or your inspiration. Quite frankly, I don't care. I do know it conflicts with mine, and it conflicts with my colleagues. I am inspired and I am motivated by not self-service, but service to others. I congratulate you and all of you on your commitment to the rule of law and ensuring the public interest law is done for the common good. Thank you.
Thank you, Jeff. Each year, our section awards the Offmer Scholarship to a deserving law student with an interest in pursuing public law. This year's awardee is Carson Thornton Gonzalez. Ms. Thornton Gonzalez also served as a UNM liaison to our board this year, so I've had the pleasure of getting to know her a little better. Carson is passionate about criminal justice reform and interned with the New Mexico prison and jail system this past summer. I would like to invite Ms. Thornton Gonzalez to stand to be recognized. And to come to the podium if she has any remarks.
I'll be very quick. I just want to say thank you to the Offmer family and Sheila Brown in the public law section. It's been really great to serve as a liaison and to meet all the wonderful lawyers in the section. And also Steve Allen, the director of the Prison and Jail Project, who isn't here today, but who's doing amazing work in New Mexico to protect the rights of incarcerated individuals. And I also want to thank my friends and family who are here to support me today. Yeah, thank you very much.
I would now like to invite D.L. Sanders to speak about John Boehler and present his award.
So, my name's D.L. Sanders. I was once a public lawyer. I've been fortunate of having public entities as clients. Best job in the world to represent the public. I see some really good Justice Matthews, Stuart Bluestone, Bill Branker, all great contemporaries of mine who are excellent public lawyers. But I got to say, I'm so happy that John got this award. Every one of us, I know the four of us, but I know others, all respect and love this guy. He is the most honest, genuine, good-hearted individual I've ever met. Now, I'm not going to go on about the judicial system and John's role in that. I'm going to humanize him just a little bit on some of the things. That's important. John was born as a sharecropper in the tar paper shack in Southeast Texas. I start with that alternative fact because John is the most unflappable, stoic person under duress I've ever met. If you had the good fortune to sit in a water committee for hour upon hour upon hour of testimony, wanting to shoot yourself, John paying attention, taking notes, and actually trying to make sense out of this for folks is remarkable. And he can make sense out of it. There's that old axiom that there's no dumb questions. I always say there's no dumb questions, just dumb people. John doesn't believe that. He believes everybody has a good point, and he'll take what these legislatures bring to him. Maybe it's not a salt curse, but that salve might be a good thing on that. And he does it with grace and dignity, and he does it with respect to the individual. I've only had one legislature in my entire career dealing with legislation that did not want to deal with John, and I didn't want to work with him. Every single water bill, I was at the state engineer office for 26 years. I've known John almost exactly as long. Every single bill the state engineer produced, John wrote. Others tried. We did everything we could to get him to John. When John retires, I would want him to be, I would be great if somebody took him up to like water policy. He understands it in a fundamental way the rest of us miss. And that is, he has heard every single argument, pro and con, crazy and sensible, how water should be managed. And every conversation I've ever had a job, he can make all that make sense. I could never repeat. So I came today to say, I'm happy that I wish he'd rewrite the HIPAA law. I hated that thing. It's one of the worst laws I've ever seen. It has good intention, don't get me wrong. What a mess for agencies. That's my commentary on that. I don't think it does agencies justice in how it's handled and how it's written. I hate not the intent, but how it's, the requirements that are so unclear you can't follow. But I'm glad John gets to handle that, so he can share our cake. I've always considered him a best friend, but I think everybody who knows John might consider him a best friend. He's the kind of guy who makes you feel good. He remembers everything about me. I think he remembers not everybody I know. He remembers facts and asks things about them that, quite frankly, I might fall. I didn't know that. So I think he epitomizes what's all good about public lawyers. I listen to all the requirements and stuff. I think we all aspire to do that in public lawyers. John actually does do it. And there's others. I mean, I got to give this to him. He toiled away for the Jim Jones office for years. And he did a great job at it. He was missed with you. John will be greatly missed, not to this AG, but to the state and to this council service, because he is the one guy who actually understands it and can do a really great job. And I hope he is mentoring people who can carry on. I don't know how much longer he can do that. I have to pass him on. I've moved on, but had one bill, and he took that bill last year. And the legislator really liked John, unfortunately, and he did a great job. And I was glad to get that, have that most recent experience. So that's the main things I wanted to say about John is that if anybody was deserving of this award, it probably should have come a long time ago. I don't know what the requirements actually are, because I came to these ceremonies every year, hoping I would get one, but never happened. Anyway, if you know me, you know why. Anyway, John, I want to tell you on behalf of myself, and I think probably the state, not just the bar, not just the legislature, I think the state owes you really the gratitude for doing a great job on this behalf. And I think everybody in this room who knows you. So with that, I will give you the award.
I'm terrified of public speaking, so that's why I was in the back office up there on the fourth floor. I do like to get into the weeds with election law or water law, and as Justice Constance noted, it's about the law, it's about protecting the public, and it's about to do the best job we can. I just want to thank everybody for the team out today, to the ceremony, and all the people I work with, to all of you out there. And it's all a matter of us working together, and it's always with this it's a team effort, and you all depend on each other. So I just want to acknowledge that and thank you.
And finally, I would like to invite Joseph Dvorak to speak about Sally Malavey and present her award.
All right, thank you. I want to start by just admitting that being a public lawyer is hard work. It's a hard work for all of our public lawyers. And public lawyers have to deal with atypical work schedules that are normal despite expectations of a work-life balance. There's never enough resources. Every day is governed by New Mexico statutes and rules, and not to dig at John, but they're not always the clearest directions for public lawyers in our state. Public lawyers often operate in silos without the support or camaraderie of an environment such as a law firm. There's, of course, recruitment and retention difficulties. And sometimes there's an absence of recognition. And that's why we're here today, to honor attorneys that have given exceptional service over an extended period of time who might not otherwise receive recognition. And I'm so happy today to be able to introduce Sally Malavey, someone who is an example for us all. Sally epitomizes what it means to be a public servant. Known in the Office of the Attorney General as a quiet force, Sally was predictably shocked when she received the news about the award this year. Sally never seeks recognition. She simply focuses on the mountain of work and challenges that she tackles every day. This award was created and intended to recognize selfless public servants like Sally. I first met Sally when I was a law student, working over a summer at the Office of the Attorney General. Sally was not a supervisor at the time, as she is now. And she actually had this great office in a back corner of the building where she could be left alone and do her work. I remember walking in there one day. It was the first time I visited with her. Her office was full of bookshelves and plants. It still is, it's just a bigger office now, a different office. And I walked in and I was nervous. I wasn't nervous because I thought Sally was unapproachable. She certainly is not. I was nervous because I could immediately tell that Sally was fiercely intelligent. I was worried that I might not know enough as a student to deserve her counsel. I left Sally's office that day feeling supported, and I left that summer with a great respect for the Office of the Attorney General, in large part because I knew people like Sally were in it. After working in Washington, D.C. and graduating law school, I decided my first choice for job prospects was the AG's office. I joined the office, and I was proud to work there alongside Sally and other attorneys. I joined current and past attorneys that know Sally well, and they know her as a sage, an encyclopedic mind of New Mexico law. Sally has gifted that office with nearly 30 years of service, passionately dedicated to public law and ensuring that the state of New Mexico, its elected officials, and those agencies, boards, and commissions receive trustful legal advice to execute the laws and their duties. Sally is a fixture at the AG's office and a source of stability. She was nominated by her current employees that recognize her service. I want to highlight a few of the comments and thoughts that some of her current staff have shared about Sally. One of her attorneys said that Sally is, quite literally, the institutional knowledge of the Office of the Attorney General. Sally knows the history and the political reality of issues her lawyers face every day. And without her expertise, we would not be able to craft guidance that is legally sound and pragmatic. Another staff said that Sally allows her staff to thrive. She has been incredibly supportive both personally and professionally during this pandemic. Another said Sally is simply amazing. She extends her knowledge to her employees, no matter their experience, and that she gracefully juggles being an exceptional attorney, a boss, a mentor, a director, a friend, a mother, a wife, and a citizen who is active in her community and committed to making our world a better place. With all the many challenges that public lawyers have in providing counsel to the state, it is committed attorneys like Sally who give our state the stability and guidance it needs. We're recognizing Sally, but I also, before I close, I think it's important to recognize Sally's family, that her husband and her 2 daughters who have shared Sally with us and the state for these many years, and I thank them for that. And I just want to end by saying that Sally, you are an example to so many, and I'm so happy to be here with so many people here that are glad to be here and recognize both you and John for your service to the state, and thank you. For the appetizers later.
Thank you so much, Joe. Good afternoon, everyone. I'm really happy to see everyone here. Although after today's numbers, I question the wisdom of our being here, and I'm glad to see a sea of men. Thank you, Joe. I very kind words. Joe, when I first became director of the Open Government Division, was my deputy director, and made my job much easier. He took what he gave my hand. He's very process driven and organized, and I'm a little restless. so we complimented, and I think we worked together as a great team. Congratulations to John Boehler as well for the job well done. And I want to thank my staff in open government and listeners here for putting your best foot forward for the amazing work that you do and for making me feel good. I have the utmost respect for you, and that was even before I learned that you had nominated me. Receiving the Public Lawyer of the Year award is truly an honor. When I look at the list of previous recipients like Marty Bailey, Betsy Joanna Ramos, Bluestone, Tracy Hughes, to name just a few, I see a pantheon of people who exemplify what it means to work not for personal gain or financial gain, but for the benefit of the greater good. From them and so many others, like Tanya Hollow, Corliss Valley, Bill Branford, Monica Converto, who contributed so much to my professional and personal development. I learned what it looks like, and more importantly, what it means to practice law honestly and with integrity. Those have been and are my guiding principles, which I hope I will be able to model to the next generation of lawyers that I'm working with and for every generation. Good governance. If the last few years have taught us anything, it has shown us how quickly as a society we can devolve into tribalism and lawlessness without the benefit of a moral and ethical center that provides a collective people around which we can all rally. The importance of sound and good governance cannot be overstated. I had the good fortune of working with so many smart and caring public servants throughout the state and local governments, as well as in the private sector, who work to make New Mexico a better place for all of us. For all of you and for your service, I am grateful and happy to be able to work with you. On a more personal note, I thank God, my family, my husband Gary, my daughters Ariana and Ashley, who I hope are still watching. I wouldn't be here without your continued love and support. Thank you. I love you. Before I leave this lectern, I just want to thank my friends Jody and Robin Stumble. When my daughters were little, there were many days when I didn't know when an administrative hearing was going to come to an end. And on those days when I did not have the benefit of extended family nearby, I often called Jody and asked if she could pick up my daughters and just keep them until my day was over. And she always said yes and gladly. Jody and Robin Stumble, I want you to know that you have contributed in no small measure to my being able to do that now. And for that, I am so grateful. Thanks to all of you for coming out, and thank you to the public law section for the state bar for this award. Have a great weekend.
And Sally has successfully gotten me to cry. I just want to thank all of you for attending today. And we have some snacks and drinks in the back. Please feel free to partake and enjoy and mingle for the rest of the time that we're here. Thank you again, everybody.